The Shameless Picture Show is part of the Cinepunks Network. If you like The Shameless Picture Show and you want to hear other great shows like it, make sure you check out the Cinepunks Network. You can find them at www.cinepunks.com. That's CINEPUNX. There's other great shows such as Cinepunks. There's The Carnage Report, Cinema Smorgasbord, Fat Girl Hacks, Loud, Fast, Philly, Tomb of Ideas, and Twitch of the Death Nerve, and so much more. If you like punk rock and you like movies, make sure to go to www.cinepunks.com. And let's not forget the sponsors for the Cinepunks Network. We have the Lehigh Valley Apparel Creations. They are the premier screen printer of the Lehigh Valley with service to the whole country, professional and personable in a way that only a DIY business can be. They also have ridiculously low prices for whatever your screen printing needs may be. You can visit them online at xlvacx.com. That's xlvacx.com. Lehigh Valley Apparel Creations. We also have the Essex Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted to order. They have high quality beans, bunch of apparel, and tea available. They are bringing high quality coffee to the masses without the pretentiousness. Use the code CINEPUNKS for 10% off your first order. You can visit them at www.essexcoffeeroasters.com. That's ESSEX, coffeeroasters.com. Once again, use the code CINEPUNKS for 10% off your first order. One of our newer sponsors here at the Shameless Picture Show is Kino Lorber. With a library of over 4,000 titles, Kino Lorber Incorporated has been a leader in independent art house distribution for 35 years, including 30 films per year theatrically under its Kino Lorber, Kino Repertory, and Alive Mind Cinema banners, garnering 7 Academy Award nominations in 9 years. In addition, the company brings over 350 titles yearly to the home entertainment and educational markets through physical and digital media releases. With the expanding family of distributed labels, Kino Lorber handles releases in ancillary media for Zeitgeist Films, Milestone Films, Cohen Media Group, Greenwich Entertainment, Artsploitation, Palisades Tartan, Raro Video, and others, placing physical titles through all wholesale, retail, and direct-to-consumer channels, as well as direct digital distribution through over 40 OTT services, including all major TVOD and SVOD platforms. If you'd like more information on Kino Lorber and all the great titles they're putting out, be sure to check them out at www.kinolorber.com. That's KINOLORBER.com. KinoLorber.com.
Good evening. I'm Luce, and on dark and eerie nights like this, I can't help but think about Halloween. I'm so sick of Halloween celebrations being limited to a few weeks out of the year. That's why I created It's Always Halloween, a year-round podcast on which I'll dive deep into the dark history of our favorite horror-filled holiday. Each episode will explore one specific custom, fear, or fright, inspired by my own curiosity and listener queries. If you have a Halloween question you need answered or just want to share a Halloween memory, call my All Hallows hotline at 802-532-DEAD. Or you can write me an email at it'salwayshalloweenpodcast@gmail.com. Tune in if you dare.
This movie podcast actually discusses movies. Be aware that it may discuss any of the following elements: endings, surprise twists, unexpected cameos, and all manner of spoilers. If this doesn't appeal to you, why listen to a movie podcast? Without further ado, please enjoy our feature presentation, The Shameless Picture Show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Shameless Picture Show. I am your host, Michael Viers, and today I'm thrilled to welcome back Derek St. Holmes, Esquire. This marks Derek's third appearance on our show. For those who might not be familiar, Derek is a multifaceted figure in the professional wrestling world. He's a wrestler, commentator, and manager, and a former host of the wrestling history podcast, Cigars and Conversation. But Derek's interests don't stop there. He's also delved deeply into the intriguing worlds of carnivals and circuses. So we felt this was a perfect episode to have Derek back. How you doing, Derek?
Fine. Thank you. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Um, I've been involved, well, I've been interested in carnivals ever since I was a kid and went to them, and my mom said, "Ooh, wouldn't it be fun to travel as a carny?" It's like, so that's always been in the back of my mind. But then as I got into wrestling and learned the carny origins of that, as you're finding out about a closed society, the carny was another closed society that it was hard to get into. And I've been getting various fanzines, for human oddities and stuff over the years, which led me to research that. Um, so I was always interested in carnivals more than circuses, but recently, with some of my time opening up, my wife and I attended a paranormal circus in the parking lot of a close by mall here.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Paranormal circus.
Yeah, it was
in the
called
parking lot of a mall.
the Paranormal Cirque, CIRQUE.
Okay.
And yes, I'm not from here, so I always get the names wrong. Southgate, Southmore, whatever it is over by Leon's Custard there.
Oh yeah. The Southgate. Yeah.
Southgate. Yes, they have a circus that comes in and sets up the tent for a week, and they have performances in the lot, and it's a full-size tent. There are bleachers, and then there's like 4 rows of seating up close. That's the VIP seating that you pay more for. But the Paranormal Cirque was a Halloween or goth themed circus that actually had a small little haunted house you would weave through before you got into the tent. And then all of the acts had, scary effects around them. But this started. This is going to be a meandering. I have several tangents.
This show is based on tangents.
Okay, so it's set up as a 1-ring circus. You heard the 3-ring circus. It's now a single ring, and it's very interesting, the setup of the modern circus. We went to this one, which was Halloween based. We went to the one that was at the Circus World Museum in Baraboo. That one had an outer space theme. And then we went to what was called the Water Circus, which was the same company, but another branch bringing its circus back to Southgate again. And I'll explain the differences in all of them. But the first one, let's see, I'm trying to think. The most, the modern circus they don't use the animals anymore, obviously. So it opened up with a parallel bar act. So you had 4 tumblers that came out. They set up like a cube, a square parallel bar thing, and then they were vaulting over, but they were all dressed in skeleton outfits. And then the scary person came out for another routine. There was to pass time between acts, they had a walk around act, which is a guy was dragging a gimp behind him who was, all blah, 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 blah. And then that gimp went in and did a contortionist act. So okay. I'm sorry, I'm really getting off subject here. The whole point of the matter is...
Oh, subject.
Yeah, the whole point of the matter is we've taken this time to go to different iterations of the modern circus and have become somewhat familiar with like how these are run or how these are presented. So I was very interested to watch The Greatest Show on Earth because this was so behind the scenes to a large operation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had also, to put that tangent aside for a second, boom, I was also aware of this movie through a book that I read in the late 80s. It was called Virgins by the author Karen Rivers, I believe, which was a story about a 1960s Catholic, characters in the Catholic Church in a neighborhood. The protagonist is a boy that wants to join the priesthood, but he's really in love with his girlfriend. Is he going to do it, or really won't he? And it's not salacious. It was more kind of a slice of life of this was time in the 60s. But a subplot of this was they like to act out the movie Greatest Show on Earth as part of their community theater. And then there was some subplot about having to take an oath to not see movies that weren't approved by the Catholic Legion of Decency and stuff like that. But I was always interested knowing that Greatest Show on Earth existed. It's like, oh, I'd want to see this to see how behind the scenes it gets or what kind of story it presents.
No,
So
that makes complete sense.
that brings us here.
No, that I completely get. And I was thinking about it. So obviously, as a kid, I went to the circus, and I couldn't, for the life of me, tell you probably which like entity I had seen.
Sure.
But I was thinking about it. I always had a very weird experience with the circus because, as you were describing, going to, these circuses set up in parking lots and things like that, I don't think I'd ever been to a circus that's actually in a tent, because when I was a kid, they used to run them out of the Bradley Center.
Sure.
And was my experience with a circus. And as I got older, I just became less aware of when circuses and carnivals were going on. So I don't know if I've ever actually been to a true circus in a tent.
It's very interesting. Now, when I say tent, it's a semi-permanent structure, but it's still a cloth that is stretched over poles.
Oh yeah, I get that, but I don't I'd only seen the circus in, like I said, the Bradley Center. So
sure,
that's a very different experience to what I saw in this movie, especially because my mom, I never saw this movie until recently, but I saw bits and pieces of it because my mom watched it all the time.
Okay, that's right. And I do have the DVD here that I understand needs to get back to you.
Yes.
In good condition.
I'll have to come and grab it from you at some point.
I can drop it off as well. We can figure that out off air.
Perfect.
So, what I wanted to express earlier was how a modern circus is set up. The crowd gathers, and the part that I love the best is there's always somebody circulating with these cheap, like $3 light up swords from the dollar store that they sell for $15 to $25 so that the kids can have them during the performance, which I love. Now, I understand back in the sideshow, they had what they called candy butchers that would sell, things of popcorn or boxes of candy, and the boxes of candy may have $5 in them or something like that, so that's a good continuation of that old scheme, just to milk some more money out of the people before the show starts. Then you'll have a show MC that comes up that, in a regular theme circus, it's usually a clown. In the scary theme circus, it was the hooded executioner telling us about our day. But this is like the MC of the show that comes out, warms up the crowd with a minor little act. With the clown, it's usually a variation of he throws his hat to somebody and they try and throw the hat back on his head. So there's this little, there's the warm-up act, and then that's the MC of the night that brings out the first act. And then the first act comes out. The equipment is usually set up already for that, and they'll go through that. And then the clown will come back out, and there's a little bridging sequence that happens while that act is torn down and the other act comes out and gets set up. So that's really interesting to watch the mechanism of all that and the efficiency of all that, which leads into the act. So then it'll be alternating the bridging narrative act versus whatever happens for this, that, and the other thing, which leads to the big show, or the big reveal. Let's see, at the Paranormal Cirque, the big deal was the real long steel teeter-totter that has a wheel at one end, and the guy runs around the wheel as it rotates around an axis.
Okay, I feel like I've seen...
You know what I'm talking about?
Footage the big, of that.
Yeah. So that's it. You start to recognize acts after a while. Like, there's usually a tumbling or a vaulting act, a gymnastic act. There are several types of suspension acts. If it's a male, it's usually 2 ribbons that come down from the ceiling, and then they're able to wind themselves up and do things with double ribbons. If it's ladies, it's usually a single ribbon, and that can be either done in a group, or there's a single person down at the bottom helping direct, and spinning her around on the ribbon. So you get used to seeing that. There could be a dance act of some sort. There was actually a roller skating act that we saw at the water circus. So there's variations, but you see like kind of the same things over again. Another thing we see a lot is the handstand on the blocks and then shooting an arrow with your feet.
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting because we saw that once and it worked, but we saw it at the Circus World Museum and the guy missed twice.
Oof.
Follow up to that. The guy missed twice, and then I started following him on Facebook and saw later that he was selling his handstand block assembly because they do their acts there and then they go somewhere else. But I just see that's like, yeah, we're not doing that shit anymore. That's not doing that. So that's fun. And then so you see the whole rollout. So the one Circus World did have some animal acts where they they run around and do circles and do whatever, but those are kind of problematic now because you really wonder, obviously you want the animals to be treated properly, and when you do some reading, especially historically, especially things like how they used to train elephants, it is just horrific amounts of abuse heaped on these animals that it's kind of a good thing now that it's kind of gone to more of a Cirque du Soleil. Some people don't like it. That's fine. Then don't come.
Yeah. And I feel like the animal treatment of animals is probably part of the reason why at a certain age I stopped going.
Sure.
And then it just kind of fell off my radar. So to hear that for the most part, most reputable circuses are not using animals is definitely something that interests me, and I feel like it's especially after watching this movie, but not because of this movie. I now have an interest in seeking out circus acts because it was something I loved as a kid.
Oh, sure. Okay, I'll keep you. Okay. So the circus, of course, because this is how I am. We go to the Paranormal Cirque. I'm like, what's the story behind this? So I find out this Paranormal Cirque is owned by a parent company called Cirque Italia that has 5 different touring acts going around the country at any given time. There's 2 paranormal cirques, 2 water circuses, and then another variant that I forget. Now, when I say water circus, this was amazing to me. Instead of things you'd think it would happen in the water a la SeaWorld, no. What the water circus had was this massive floor, which if you think like the Saturday Night Fever floor, except with dancing fountains in it.
Oh,
so they were, so they were able to time out these water displays with the acts that were in the ring. For example, when the guy came out and did the fire act, suddenly all the sprinklers came up. So he was totally surrounded by a wall of water doing his fire act, which I might add wasn't that impressive, but the water made it fun. It's just like, come on, we know what you're doing. I'm sorry. Another act that you would see is often a woman doing a suspension act in some sort of steel ring from, that's lifted up, like the trapeze.
Yeah.
So we've seen this with a full ring. And we also saw it with like a crescent moon assembly, which was a variance like, oh, let's see what you can do. So there are variants of that exist as well. And then let's see, I'm trying to think the 2 places we saw it. They did a fake knife throwing act where they took, they had the expert get up there, throw the knives into the board, chunk, 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 chunk. Oh, this is so dangerous. Ha ha ha. So then they ask for volunteers out of the crowd, and they take a man and a woman that's a couple, and they have the man blindfolded against the board, and they have the woman out where she's going to throw the knives. So they take the man, lift up the blindfold, and say, "Okay, your honey's going to throw a knife at you here." And then they pull the blindfold down over his head, and then the person next to the board just chunks a knife into the board. They fake it out so that the person's like, obviously freaked out, which leads to the gag where they pop a balloon between his legs and a line of water comes out of the board to look like he pisses himself. We laughed at this because we saw this at the Paranormal Cirque, but then we saw another variant of it at a circus that we saw later. So we're like, oh, they're doing the same bit. Let's see how this turns out. It's like, sure enough, the blindfold and everything. It was, maybe you had to be there, but it was just funny because it was just like, oh yeah, this bit, the old balloon between the legs. Yeah, we seen that.
So let me ask you this. I feel like I might know the answer, but
sure.
when you so you've been to a lot of the circuses, and you've spent a lot of time researching circuses. Does seeing similar acts done differently or done multiple times make you appreciate it more, or do you like do you like more variety to your circus acts?
Well, obviously, I like variety, but it's the human body, so there's only so many things you can do. It
Mm-hmm.
does excite me that there are different learning centers around the country that you can learn these acts at. And, I just think it's funny if you're sitting around, you've got extra time during the day of, hey, let's, sorry, we didn't see the second time that wasn't at a circus, it was at the Ren Fair in Kenosha. They did the same knife throwing act.
I think I saw that knife throwing act, and I saw their acrobats there too.
Sure. And that's good because that's just another way to use these skills. Like
Mm-hmm.
it would be nothing for a circus performer to, work at Circus World for 8 weeks or whatever, and then go travel the Ren circuit, doing variants of we can get into that. That's another tangent later. Anyway, so that's the structure of the modern circus. You've got the MC that comes out, wraps the whole show together. You bring your acts out. You build up to the biggest acts that it's harder to tear down at the end, and then you bring everybody out for the Saturday Night Live curtain call, and that's it. And then you all file out. And then it blows my mind because you've just seen this show, and it's the greatest show on earth. But they're doing 2 of these shows a night for a week-long stand. They're living in the area behind the stand. They've got everything set up like that's their life. Which, going back to what I used to say about wrestling, it turns from these guys are on the road every night to these guys are on the road every night. So,
and you describing that honestly reminds me of pro wrestling. So it makes sense that they come from the same world. Like I read stories in various books that 2 of the big guys, they would go around the circuit essentially doing the same match, same bits throughout it, test to see how it works, and then if they're on television, they would do it for real on television once they know that it works.
Right. That's what the Fed used to do. They'd put guys together for 3 weeks before they'd run the angle for their match. So by the time it went, they had their match down. But that's neither here nor there. We watched a movie. We watched a movie about circuses.
We did watch a movie about circuses. So let me read my little introduction about a movie we watched about circuses, and then we can talk more in depth about circuses.
Woohoo.
So on today's episode, we will be crossing a film off both of our shame lists. Cecil B. DeMille's The Greatest Show on Earth. Set in the vibrant world of the Bradbury Brothers Circus, the film brings to life its colorful cast of characters, including the ambitious ringmaster Brad Braden, the spirited trapeze artist Holly, and I can't say this word even though I wrote it, enigmatic clown Buttons. Amidst the circus's financial struggles and various conflicts, the movie offers a behind-the-scenes look at the daily grind of how show business, from setting up the tents and caring for the animals to the breathtaking aerial performances. Legend has it that co-stars Betty Hutton and Cornell Wilde learned to fly trapeze for their roles, adding a touch of authenticity despite having stunt doubles for their more dangerous scenes. The film was produced with the cooperation of Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey, featuring many of their actual acts. The Greatest Show on Earth was a box office hit, earning $12.8 million against its $4 million budget, and became the highest-grossing film of 1952, surpassing the other notable releases such as This Is Cinerama, which I love that made so much money, The Snows of Kilimanjaro, Hans Christian Andersen, and Ivanhoe. It also marked Paramount's biggest success up to that point and won 2 Oscars out of 5 nominations, including Best Picture and Best Story. And I have thoughts about that as well.
Oh, I have facts about that. Yeah.
The film stars Charlton Heston, Betty Hutton, Cornell Wilde, Dorothy Lamour, Gloria Graham, and James Stewart as Buttons, which is just so much fun to say. The film features stunning 3-strip Technicolor photography by George Barnes, editing by Anne Bouchins, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, and a score by Victor Young. It was written by Frederick M. Frank, Theodore St. John, and Barry Lyndon, directed by Cecil B. DeMille from 1952. This is The Greatest Show on Earth. Or is it?
Children of all ages, John Ringling North welcomes you to the greatest show on earth.
We bring you the circus, the Pied Piper whose magic tunes lead children of all ages from 6 to 60 into a tinsel and spun candy world of reckless beauty and mounting laughter, and whirling thrills, of rhythm, excitement, and grace, of daring and blaring and dance, of high-stepping horses and high-flying stars. And this is the story of the biggest of the big tops, and of the men and women who fight to make it the greatest show on earth.
I'd do anything if it was just for you.
Pigeon, look. Out under the sky, you know how I feel about you. But under the big top, one performer's just like another to me.
You've got nothing but sawdust in your veins.
I've scraped too many of you kinkers up from the sawdust to let anybody get under my skin.
Just so the show rolls. You don't care who it rolls over, who it hurts. So it rolls over me. Be careful someday it doesn't roll over you.
Why are you in makeup? Why are you the great Sebastian? You are like champagne. Sparkling, tantalizing. You make a man's head spin.
You've got a terrific line. They've been around again, asking questions. I'm so worried for you.
Oh, now, don't worry. They'll never find me behind this nose.
We'll pack some in. Best publicity gag in a long time.
It's no gag, brother.
You wouldn't kid me, would you?
Kid you? They're working without nets.
Brad's hurt. He's bleeding. They can't stop.
Well, get the doctor working on him, Holly. I've got to go.
The doctor's knocked out. He was in the same car. Buttons, that newspaper about the doctor who killed the girl he loved.
Yeah, well, Brad told me something about a detective being on the train looking for that fella.
Look, I don't know if you're the man they're looking for, but if you are, you can save Brad. What's the matter with all of you? Brad said we'd give a show, and we're going to give it.
We got no big top.
We'll sidewall it, set up in the open.
It's a half hour too long.
Yeah, I would say about that's my first takeaway was it's about a half hour, maybe even 45 minutes too long. Because every time I start getting slightly invested in the human story they're telling, we then have to wait 5 to 10 minutes for them to show an act in full.
Lots of parades. But
Yes.
we're jumping ahead here.
I was jumping ahead of my intro. I was already taking jabs.
That's fine. Let's talk about the best story and best picture. You said
Yes.
you had thoughts about that.
Yes. So I had the list pulled up originally. Let me pull it up again of some of the films that were nominated that same year for Best Picture and Best Story. Also, fun fact about Best Story: that was a weird Oscar award for a while because they had Best Screenplay at this time.
Right.
They had Best Adapted Screenplay. Best Story is essentially who wrote the best treatment for a script. And that was more prevalent during the silent era, sure. But like they eventually got rid of it in 1956 because it was like, okay, what's the point of this? But I have the awards. I have the 25th Academy Awards pulled up, and The Greatest Show on Earth won. But it was against, High Noon, the original Moulin Rouge, the John Huston film, Ivanhoe by Pedro S. Berman, and The Quiet Man. It beat out High Noon and The Quiet Man.
So,
yeah, John Ford won Best Director for The Quiet Man. It just feels like a weird choice to me. And I have to say, as someone who has spent a lot of time making films and studying them, this movie in itself is a feat.
Yes.
And I'm not going to discredit
it's not
the movie that they made, but it's not High Noon or The Quiet Man.
No, it's a melodrama woven into a circus documentary.
Yes.
The treatment that I read after watching this suggested that the Best Picture was actually a political nod towards Cecil B. DeMille so he could get an Oscar before he passed away, because he was a highly regarded director but hadn't had a Best Picture Oscar and was getting old. So
yeah, he died about 7 years after this, so that tracks.
Right. So that's what I was going to say about why it was the best, just because they wanted to get him one. Mm-hmm. But the best story, that kind of blows my mind, because there are more than one or two plot points that kind of get dropped.
Mm-hmm. And from what I understand, they're not necessarily judging this award on who has the truly best story. I think they're actually reading the legitimate treatment that they wrote before the film was even made to give them an idea whether or not it's worth pursuing into a screenplay. Because usually they would write a treatment, if a screenplay is anywhere from 90 to 100 pages, let's say treatment would be like 10 to 15. It's the short story version of the movie. Yeah, which is just weird. It's a weird award. And it's no wonder that it went away by 1956.
Okay, so the movie.
Mm-hmm.
My first thought is, why is Indiana Jones running a circus?
I had that same thought.
But I thought that Charlton Heston's character was not written very well. It was just this one-dimensional, I live and breathe this circus. And just the way he marches around the circus yard telling everybody something particular about their job. Like, be sure you keep the jib up on that rope, Jimmy, and blah, 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 blah. That it just, like, if he was my boss, he'd be like, get the fuck out of here. You don't even lift this thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Pardon my friend.
No. You can swear on the show. No, I had the same thought about him. It felt like they wanted him to come across as the everyman who's probably worked in this circus since he was a young kid, so he knows every single job because he's done them, and he got to this point because he worked so much harder than everyone else. And it just, it kind of felt flat to me.
Yes.
And there were so many times where I kept thinking, it's like, is his character going to do something? Is there going to be, he's here kind of to create a love triangle, but not really, because he dismisses Holly through so much of the film because of his own ego. But then, like, honestly, Buttons is the most interesting character, and we don't even get a real arc out of him until like the last 5 minutes of the movie.
Right.
And like Charlton Heston, say what you want about who he was a much better actor than the performance he was given in this film.
Yes. As I watched this, I had the impression that was later supported by the piece I wrote, that this movie does not do well on TV screens. That it really needs to be, like, I was disappointed your copy didn't have a letterboxed version, because I think that would help with the grandeur of some of these scenes, and would also take away some of the creepiness of the close-ups of people in the crowd. Like, I commented to my wife that I know that suits were the fashion at the time, but all of these older-looking men in suits sitting with little kids just made this look like the free entertainment at the child trafficking expo. Which may be in poor taste, and I apologize, but watch this movie, because the cutaways to the crowd, which were filmed at the same time, we swear, they come off as artificial, but I also wonder if that's because like you're zoomed in on a third of the screen instead of seeing them buried in the crowd with other things going on.
This is a weird movie because this movie's native aspect ratio was 1:3:3 to 1, so that square image, and it's almost
really
shocking to me
that
and maybe he did, I don't know, but it's almost shocking to me that he didn't push for a more technoscope look, unless because they also shot this, they were shooting documentary footage which was shot in like 16 millimeter. It wouldn't have been cut correctly. But no, the cutaways to the kids in the crowd is some of my favorite stuff, because I think I read a review for this movie that says, just because you cut to a kid eating an ice cream cone smiling doesn't mean we as the audience are having a good time.
Right.
But then there's specifically this moment later, I don't even know when in the movie it is. I want to say it's nearish the beginning, where there's this overly excited father explaining everything that's happening to his son, who has no interest in being there.
Yes, and no kid, like none of the children that attend the circus appear to know how to eat ice cream.
No. They've never had it before, I assume.
Including one that I swear looked like in makeup like he was just wearing an old man goatee.
Just like, I know exactly which kid you're talking about.
Nobody knows how to eat ice cream here. Oh, so my wife and I did notice that they sold popcorn, but there wasn't any sort of particular selling of souvenirs in the crowd during this that we saw in the movie. I don't know if these crowds were too big for that. I don't know, because remember, this was a 3-ring circus. We've only been to the 1-ring circus. So yes, Charlton Heston is out there. There appears to be this. Oh, I'm sorry. Getting back to this doesn't do well on TV. I did try and put myself back in the eyes of somebody in the 50s watching this that didn't have access to television, and wouldn't be jaded like we are today. And I could see how the majesty of the movie would be impressive and would become a favorite because you had memories of going to the circus and you liked this act, or you liked this, you liked the parades or whatever.
And I talked to my mom about this because this is one of my mom's favorite movies.
Yes.
It's like Gone with the Wind in this. That's her shit.
Okay.
And I was talking to her about this, and she asked me what I thought, and I was a little worried to tell her I didn't love it because she's watched this movie probably 5 or 6 times this year.
Sure.
And I told her it's like, what keeps me going in a movie like this. Like if I had signed up for a documentary about the day in and day out of a circus, that would be different.
Sure.
But I came in expecting there to be a storyline along with all this documentary footage, and it was just taking too long to get to it. I even said to her what I told you before, that I'd be invested even slightly into a story, and then I'd have to wait for an entire circus act to finish. And she told me, well, that's her favorite part. And I was thinking about that. This is a movie she probably did see on television as a kid. It was one of those event movies. It's like when Wizard of Oz came on, you had to watch it because you weren't going to. You were lucky if you got to see it the next year.
Yes.
And thinking about it, I never got a chance to ask her. I don't know how often my mom ever went to circuses.
Sure.
So seeing these acts play out with their beautiful gowns and their dresses and the pageantry probably really spoke to her in that way, because she grew up over on over on Greenfield and 21st. She wasn't seeing stuff like this.
Sure. Well, I mean, could have very well seen a small circus that came through.
Yeah.
As you know, Wisconsin was a hotbed for circuses, especially back in the late 1800s.
That's true.
Obviously, the Baraboo Circus World Museum. Delavan was another big spot. There are statues. There's an elephant and a giraffe statue in Delavan.
I had no idea. I didn't know about Circus World until you told me about it.
Oh my! I recommend it strongly. I
wrote it down. I want to go visit it.
Yes, it is. Well, the circus acts only happen during the summer, but I recommend taking a day and doing it. It's well worth it. It's well laid out. Very impressed with a lot of things there. And there's that, and then we also went to the the Clown Hall of Fame that's in downtown Baraboo. I'm sorry. There's an International Clown Hall of Fame that's in downtown Baraboo.
I know, I'm writing that down. That shocks me that I've not heard about that.
So we went to that, and that was very fun because the proprietor, like the guy that runs it, is a longtime clown that used to be on the road and everything like that. So relating to this movie, some of the little cars that you saw some of the clowns driving around, between Circus Road Museum and this Clown Hall of Fame, we may have seen some of the actual equipment that was used in this movie.
That's cool. And I appreciated this movie to that extent.
Yes.
I loved seeing, like I said, the documentary aspect of this. Like I said, I didn't necessarily feel like I need to see some of the entire circus acts, but I loved watching them put up the tent. I loved watching the clowns behind the scenes. I loved seeing these elements. I kind of just wish it had been better integrated into the story that was being told. But like you said, I also try to put myself in the mindset of this is 1952.
Right.
The way the pictures are constructed is a little bit different. And I guess also to some extent I have to appreciate this feels like a bold movie for 1952 to try to do something like this.
Okay, I was also thinking the love triangle aspect was a little bold.
Yeah.
Because that seemed very fluid. Yes, to me it seemed very fluid for the time that, oh, you be with him or you be with me. And it's everybody's fucking here, right?
They kind of hinted at that Charlton Heston's character Brad, that he was seeing a couple of the people there. It's kind of seemed like Holly was his quote unquote work wife, I guess.
Yes,
but
there was that, and then when Sebastian,
like you said, things were fluid.
Then things were very, very fluid. It was very common. And I'm not saying this derisively or anything. This is just a fact that it was common that the clowns, a good percentage of the clowns, were actually homosexual or bi, and became a clown to help deal with that stigma.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that was a very common thread in a lot of that, which led to a lot of misunderstanding, especially as younger men decided to travel and stuff like that. And that was present through the carny and through the circus. It was all showbiz, It was all life on the road. So who knows what goes on. But yeah, I thought that their treatment of that was very progressive. However, I was amazed by the amount of misogyny and the amount of just blatant sexual harassment. The great, what's his name's got her hanging from his hands 70 feet above the floor. And he's like, kiss me or I'll let you go. What? Yeah. What? One, doing that. Two, the guy running the circus allows that to happen.
Hey, he's a moneymaker. He's bringing in the crowds.
Hey, I'm sorry, but that's whoa. What lessons are being given here?
And that's one of the things that I struggled with is I never really felt great Sebastian being interested in Holly. It just felt very much just here's a conquest that I have not conquered yet. And then there's probably also some just general respect because they are both doing the same type of act and everything. But Brad, I just never felt like he actually cared about her. He only cared about her when it inconvenienced him, but more so inconvenienced the circus.
Yes.
That's the only time he ever truly cared about. Buttons cared about her more, and he wasn't even involved in that triangle.
Right. So they have the Great Antonio, they have Holly, but then there was also a family trapeze act that was in I didn't understand how that all worked. It's you've got kind of three people doing the same performance here, up in the air. Now, granted, they were doing the chair balances and stuff like that, which we saw a version of at the water circus. It wasn't a chair balance on a trapeze, but it was a long flat swing that a guy had set up two round tubes and a platform that he was standing on, so there was double balance as it was swinging back and forth over the crowd. So that was pretty interesting. So I was confused by the same acts.
I will also say those real quick before you go on to the next thought. So while I complain sometimes about some of these, seeing too many of these acts, those trapeze acts were some of the best stuff, especially when it was tied into our main characters, because it added more to what we were watching. And especially now, because when I was watching this, I kept thinking, how are they getting these close-ups of Betty Hutton? And now knowing that she was doing it, some of it adds a whole nother level to this. Like, man, Betty Hutton's up there doing this. Cornell Wilde's up there, even though he is afraid of heights. And, enough that they could get some close-ups and, there's oftentimes where you could clearly see there's some movies you can watch it, you could clearly see the doubles. They hid their doubles so well because there was many times where I'm like, where the fuck are the doubles? How do they keep getting these close-ups?
Nice.
So that's impressive just in itself.
I didn't like this. I had the same complaint about the movie The Wrestler in 2008, was that you saw these acts performed all chopped up. Like, you didn't see how the act build to a climax or anything. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, you just saw, like, ooh, they did this, they did this, they did this. Then we move on to the next act, but you didn't see how did they build up to it? How did they build suspense? Like, you just saw clips. You didn't see the whole act, so you couldn't really see the majesty of what they were doing. They were just showing the high spots.
Yeah.
So, I assume you've seen the movie Roadhouse.
A long time ago.
In a galaxy far, far away.
It was one of the few 80s movies my dad was into.
Nice. One of my complaints about Roadhouse, and I will bring this back to Greatest Show on Earth, is that Dalton shows up out of nowhere, and suddenly in this nowhere town, in this nowhere bar, he finds this blonde woman that he just happens to fall in love with. Like, out of all the bar, boom, it just happens. The Great Sebastian shows up to this circus, and he does the big entrance where he comes in with the police escort and forces the cop to pay for his ticket, or forces the management to pay for his police ticket, which I thought was great. Like,
yes, I did too.
But then all of a sudden, I'm only in the center ring. Oh, but you took it for me. Oh, well, now you can share it, and now I'm in love with you. It's like, wait, this happened. So, like, that, again, poor story, but it's just like, really, why is this person? Like, I could see if it was just a conquest I needed to have, but to go to the lengths of, no, she must be in the center ring with me. Like, why? You've never even seen her work. What do you know?
Yeah, she could be terrible.
Right. Speaking of how to work, I did not like when the circus manager, Charlton Heston's character, was like yelling at these people, you ever go up there again, and I swear to God, I'll cut your rigging out of you. It's like, you're doing that in front of the people. Like, kayfabe, that can happen backstage. You don't do that, come on. You don't do that in front of the people.
You don't even if someone's in danger, you don't make the audience feel like they need to be worried.
Right.
And then you don't choose some. Yeah, it's just that was a weird. Like, I know you're pissed off, but if you're so passionate about this circus, you should know when to conduct your business.
Yeah. Back, kayfabe. Cornell Wilde's physique. I was very impressed with his physique, especially for the time period. 1952, you said?
Yes.
So this would have been the era of Muscle Beach and some of the really early proponents of bodybuilding, Vic Tanny, Armand Tanny, Jack LaLanne. I don't know if Garanda's gym wasn't open yet, but he was around as an influence. So like, that world was still kind of esoteric and new to the public. So seeing the shape that Cornell Wilde showed up in told me that he had connections to that bodybuilding bodybuilding subculture, but I didn't find anything like a lot of those bodybuilders did acting and wrestling on the side. I didn't find anything else from Cornell. He appeared to be like an actual actor, so good on him for getting himself in that kind of condition for the movie. So that was good.
It's also weird now that you're mentioning that, because it was a very different time of making films. It's kind of like how little you usually see an actor without their shirt on,
right?
Especially in this time period. So like, I'd have no reason to suspect Cornell Wilde looked like that. Only reason I know what Charlton Heston's body looked like is because he did the other Cecil B. DeMille film that I can't think of the name of right now. The
Spartacus.
No, the Let My People Go movie.
10 Commandments?
10 Commandments. Like,
okay.
He was wearing a loincloth in that movie, but you're right. Like, now it's not shocking when an actor has got a body, because that's now part of the job.
Yes.
But yeah, Cornell Wilde looked like he belonged in that role.
Yes, and I can guarantee you that there was a certain subculture that came to see this movie expressly for Cornell Wilde having his shirt off.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
And God bless him for it, because that would be one of the only acceptable ways to, not say show your homosexuality, but that was a very covert way to, I want to go see this movie,
John Waters just said that's why the beach pictures were so popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
And again, there's no problem with it.
No.
I'm just saying that, that's something that, again, wasn't really seen for that time period, especially in that type of condition. Looked very well, and looked very, the wrestler Horst Huffman he was a German wrestler in the 70s. He wore all green tights like that.
With the tights and everything, and the pageantry of him entering, it felt very pro wrestling.
Oh yes, of course, and it was all. We all get our gear at the same place. Oh,
yeah,
International Clown Hall of Fame. So, the guy comes out and he starts going through the spiel. It's a large room. It's like two rooms, but there's a large room that has props and different areas set up and everything like that. So he starts to give us the tour, and I explain how I have a history of researching Sideshow. So we started talking shop a little bit. And then all of a sudden he was like, "Oh, okay, this guy knows a thing or two. Let's have a conversation." So one of my questions for him, he had a whole display of clown shoes. So I asked, I'm like, "Okay, I come from a pro wrestling background. From the 50s to the 70s, there was one place everybody got their gear from. Was there a specific place that clown people got their gear from?" And once he understood the question, he's like, "Yes, there were 4 different companies that people would get their quality gear from." And that's
amazing.
Yeah, I just love that these businesses were once so small.
Well, especially like you related it to clown shoes makes so much sense, because you think about like a regular like clown jacket, okay, that could be made, you could have someone's mom sew that together or whatnot. Grease paint, well, not terribly easy to find as it is now, was far more common, but the shoes is not just something you can go to the store and find or make, especially shoes that were going to last, because even the shoes you find now, or like you go to a costume shop, are going to be crap.
Right.
Like these were leather shoes built to last.
Are you familiar with Yabo the Clown and Ruffo, the wrestlers, the wrestling clowns? Like they have top quality gear, and they have the shoes. And
they would have that. I wouldn't expect anything less from them.
Yeah. So it was amazing stuff, just seeing how this was all put together and everything like that. I'm going to ask you, because you're a film guy.
Yeah.
I have the Legend of the 7 Golden Dragons written on my notes. Do you know why I have that written on my notes?
No, because I haven't even seen that movie.
Oh, okay. Legend of the 7 Golden Dragons. Well, let me describe it, and we'll see if you want to. It's a collaboration between Hammer Studios of England and Golden Harvest Studios of Hong Kong, and they essentially made a British Hong Kong vampire movie.
I've heard of this.
Okay. The reason I
heard of
have it
this.
on here is that there are several scenes where you can tell the English people are performing in front of a back projection of the Chinese action going on.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, especially in the TV print, there are several times where you can tell there are people blue screened in front of a rear projection of whatever circus scene is going on in the back. Just like, yeah, so we're really here, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're standing right here in front of this scene that's going on behind us without context. Oh, that's cool. Let's go do something else. All right, cool. And the scene still goes.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was funny.
Yeah, there was that. Like, I think I know what scene you're doing. It was like one near the beginning of the film. There was actually quite a few times where characters were just standing in front of a rear screen projection of a still, like of a circus background. It's like, could we not just get the crew down to Sarasota, Florida, or wherever the fuck they shot this, and just get them there? Why do we have to have a fake background of the circus just for Charlton Heston to deliver a couple lines?
Yeah, he didn't want
Who knows?
to give up his bowling night. Yeah.
Who knows? I know you wrote down a couple things. Do you have anything else before I move on to the next?
No, you'll
next
probably bring up some more stuff. Go ahead.
Okay. So, a couple of things I want to talk about is I obviously want to talk about James Stewart as Buttons the Clown, because it feels like a rather bold choice to have an actor as popular as James Stewart was at this point under grease paint the entire film. And granted, he's got such an iconic voice that you know it's him. However, the credit, James Stewart's credit in this film, I think it says James Stewart, a clown, Buttons.
Yeah.
Brilliant. He had some of the most interesting stuff in this movie, and it's still not even the main focus of it.
Right.
Like, I love the idea of, like, when you're first introduced to him, he's a, I'm trying to compose my words. He's not like the stereotypical sad clown, but he's got a lot of sadness behind his eyes. That's one thing I love about James Stewart's performance in this movie. Even though he's got this very loud clown face paint on, you could just his true expressions are coming through, and that's not easy to do. And you have they've established early on that he never takes off his face paint. He has this great line to the great Sebastian, where the great Sebastian, said something along the lines of, "Why don't you ever take off your face paint?" And he was like, "Oh," he had a great comeback, and I can't think of what it was. But it's just this well-established thing that he doesn't take off the face paint, and they just keep adding little hints throughout it, like when he's doing a circus act and the woman flags him down, and he has like this really nice scene between the woman that you find out later on to be his mother, and they're hinting at things that never quite happened. And this entire time, you're like, what the fuck is going on with Buttons?
Yep.
And Charlton Heston even makes some hints at that he knows what's going on, but he never 100% confirms. But then to find out that in the end that he's wanted for murder because he did an ethical assisted suicide, is a really, well, at least that's the way that I read it. He did an assisted suicide in 1952 is kind of a bold story plot point.
Yes. I actually wondered if that was a cover for, and sorry if this is controversial or anything, I always thought that was code for botched abortion.
Oh, interesting.
Like, yeah, it was a mercy killing, but maybe I'm just too jaded with modern, but like I could see that happening. That's a slant that Derek, put on that. So please don't tell your mother that that's what I thought. But
she might be listening to this. It's
whatever. But that's just what I thought of as something. That, like, for whatever reason, that was my first thought.
Because like they're showing the newspaper or the magazine about the magazine article said something about like a man who kills his, or a doctor who kills his wife, or something like that. And Buttons tries to no sell that when he sees it. And my original thought was, because maybe I also might have just zoned out at a certain point if they actually specifically said it.
Right.
That I kind of got the feeling that it was something to do. It was maybe his wife was sick or something like that, or terminal, and he just she wanted to be out of her misery.
Right.
But it is an interesting thought too about the way that you brought it up, because I hadn't considered that. But regardless, like, this is a storyline that they weren't telling in 1952.
Right.
And and
could have been told
he's
quicker.
wanted.
Yeah.
He could have been told a lot quicker, and he's wanted. I feel like had we known a little more early on, it would have added to some of the tension of the FBI looking for him, because like we know that we put together that he's wanted for something, but we don't have a legitimate reason to be concerned for him.
So the other thing I thought of was, one, it was funny seeing Emmett Kelly do his bits, but two, I bet you he wasn't the only clown that was wanted for something. Again,
Probably not.
That's why some of these people went under the grease paint. Never mind. I could name drop several good books on this, but there's a lot of just fascinating books on the topic. You mentioned his clown face.
Mm-hmm.
Another fact from the International Clown Hall of Fame: every official clown has their face paint, has their face design trademarked, and it is kept on a little ceramic egg at the Hall of Fame.
Really?
So they have the majority of the collection stored downstairs, but they do have on display like a few shelves of these trademarked face designs.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Fuck, I need to go to the Clown Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. And the display changes because it's fun stuff. The guy really believes in what he's doing. So had Buttons there. Yes, we talked about him being on the run. I thought that was a very interesting subplot. It could have been told sooner. Oh yeah, I was getting into when the movie finally gets around to the shakedown by the mob. I think my wife said at that point, it's like, wow, they're getting into this conflict awful late in this movie.
Yeah,
that makes a good point. So can we skip ahead? Can we talk about that right now?
Yeah, we can talk about whenever.
Okay, so that scene happens where Charlton Heston hears that there's a crooked wheel on the midway, so he runs out and disturbs the wheel and runs the guy off the lot.
Yeah.
I understand why they did that for the movie, but I believe that relationship was actually very different, and that sideshow was actually separate from the circus, but allowed to operate there with cooperation by the circus. So,
are you talking in general?
Yes.
Like the sideshow games are not necessarily part of the circus?
Correct.
Okay,
correct. Hence the name The Sideshow.
Makes sense.
So you have the circus and you had this going on, but the sideshow was offering a separate concession that ran by paying the circus a percentage or whatever like that. So I don't know that it would be the circus manager that would break that up. He would go to the proprietor of the sideshow and have to figure that out. Also, before that sideshow would operate, they would have the town patched out and an understanding with the local police about what was happening and stuff like that. At least that's how it happened for carnivals. Traveling with circuses was kind of different. It's important to remember that the circus is separate from the sideshow. Like, the sword swallower may have an act in the circus, but if he was in a sideshow, that's like a separate deal.
So do you have a theory onto why they felt this little plot point was important to the story? Were they trying to, like... Because I know, like I said, Barnum and Bailey and the Ringling Brothers were involved, so...
Yeah, they had to introduce the shakedown by the mob.
Mm-hmm.
So the Ringling Brothers were fine if that was found, a crooked deal was found outside of the circus, again, in the sideshow, but you wouldn't have that happening under the main tent. But then, as I recall, the whole shakedown by the mob thing seemed ill finished to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because
kind of like he kind of chased them off, and it.
Yeah, and
Like,
then that
don't get
was
me wrong,
fine. It's like, wait a minute.
he chased them off, and then because of that, they are responsible for probably the greatest spectacle in the entire fucking movie.
Yeah. The train crash was very good.
Like, even when you can see it's clearly miniatures, and like it's still really effective.
Yes, yeah, I could see that being a big spectacle, especially on a big screen in a theater.
Yeah.
And actually, stuff like that, unfortunately, actually happened. Do you know what Showman's Rest is?
No.
Okay. In, I forget the name of the cemetery in the Chicago area, there's a section called Showman's Rest, which is where there was a train crash collision. I want to say it was the Hagenbeck Circus. I don't know. You'll have to look it up. But in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was a train derailment and crash that happened close by there. So all of the workers were buried in this one area of the cemetery. And so some of them are identified and some of them are just like tent guy number 1, tent guy number 2, because they didn't have any records of these people.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's a classic example of a huge train accident like that would have happened, that would have killed a whole lot of people because you have your whole crew on the train. Let's back up for a second and look at the enormity of the operation of this circus. They said it was 1,400 people that were underemployed there. I just want to point out how much food it takes to feed 1,400 people, how much food, how much supplies it would take to feed all of those animals. Like, how many elephants were there? Like, how much hay per day?
There was at least like a half dozen elephants.
Yes. I mean, just the enormity of that operation. And one thing that wasn't clear to me from the movie was how the circus operated. Did it go up and down every day, or did they stay at a stand for X number of days? Like, that was unclear to me.
They didn't specify. I have my thoughts. Like, I imagine they would set up shop for a couple of days to maybe a week.
Right.
You know, run as many shows as they can. Probably more than likely weekend shows. So they're probably traveling during the weekdays. Probably getting set up Wednesday and Thursday. Maybe do a late show on Friday. Start breaking down maybe Sunday or Monday, and then move on. So that was my thought, but they never specified.
Right. And I hear what you're saying there, but that also results in several days on the road that aren't generating income.
That's a good point as well.
So yeah, that was unclear to me and how that worked. Because I've heard it both ways, that circus would set up for a while, or in some places circus would go up and down every night, which would blow my mind because it seems like you would need like a morning crew and an afternoon crew.
Yeah, and especially because watching this and seeing how these tents are put up, and it's not a quick process.
Right. So it seems like daily would be very hard. Like a 10 and 1 sideshow could go every day, but that's also just one tent.
And then if you also think about it too, just the cost of a train.
Yes.
Like, they have their own train, which makes sense for what they're doing, but I can't even fathom being able just to have your own train, because then you have to be on the schedules and everything else. It's a whole production.
Well, I think the bosses said at one time it cost them $25,000 a day on the road.
$25,000 a day on the road.
Isn't that what they said?
I think so. I'm going to try to Google and see if I can figure out what $25,000 is today, like what that would be then. Now I'm curious. I did read while I was looking things up for this movie that extras are paid 75 cents a day.
Yes, we're happy to get it.
All right, that would be about $296,000 today.
That seems big.
granted, this is just the first Google that search that I found, but they said $25,000 in 1952 is equivalent in purchasing power to $296,000 today.
Right, but now I want to clarify the line of the movie, if that's per day or per unit of time, because there's no way a circus could take in 25 grand every day to stay in the black.
No, that seems way too high.
Yeah.
But like, ultimately that's the core struggle with the movie is the circus is not doing well. They're going to cut their dates, which means they're all going to make less money. And they're going to essentially be fucked.
Right.
And so you have like this virtue behind everything that Charlton Heston's doing, and it still didn't make me like him anymore.
Right.
Because it never really felt like the financial burden was a looming threat throughout this movie. It was the setup to get the great Sebastian involved in the film.
Right.
But
a great Sebastian who then crapped out on his investment by getting injured.
Yeah, and who was almost proving to not be a very good investment from the beginning anyways, because he was the name. He's the one everyone's coming to see, and they're not going to put him in the center ring because he's giving it up. That would be like your main eventer going on first. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, he's got a double shot, so he's got to go somewhere
Yeah.
else. That's funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got very mixed feelings about this film because I wanted to like it because
yes,
it has this reputation behind it. It's a view of the circus that I'll never get to experience.
Right.
And that was interesting. And, I look at the cast, and on paper, this is a cast I'd really get behind. And so Charlton Heston was fine. I like him much more in other movies. James Stewart felt like one of those actors that just can't give a bad performance.
Sure. We haven't made this joke yet. The part where Charlton Heston is playing with the chimpanzees and didn't do the "get your hands off me, you damn dirty ape," just made me a little sad. That's it.
I didn't even consider that.
Get your hands off me. That's it.
Like, ultimately, like I've seen obviously movies since this that involve the circus. I've seen movies before this, like Freaks, which I think is a really good movie.
Sure. You do need to see Carney so that you can compare and contrast with this movie.
I plan to.
I think it's a much tighter movie. I think it explains the inside better. And although it still has a questionable resolution, is tighter than this movie. Like, this movie is just, we're making money, we'll keep going. It's like, you're not really at the end, though.
No.
It's like you just had this huge tragedy and you're telling yourself you'll make it again, which is a good story, but do you?
Yeah, and ultimately, it got to the point where I started liking some of these characters and I wanted more of them.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I got it. But I try to be positive in the show. Like I said, there was things that I appreciated about it. I got to see parts of the circus that I'll never get to experience again. Some of those trapeze acts were really still really effective. That train crash is just incredible.
Oh, there's a thought. Where do 1,400 people poop?
I imagine they dig a lot of holes.
Yeah, think about that. Like, just the operation of this circus. Yeah.
Yeah, like, honestly, it does not seem like a fun time.
No.
You're spending your summers outside in the middle of nowhere around sweaty people in tents. One guy never takes off his grease paint, and I'm sure his skin is terrible because of it. I'm sure everyone stinks. I'm sure everyone stinks. Like, I think it's rather bold to think the great Sebastian is wearing light green tights.
Yes.
Like, I hope he's wearing multiple layers.
They were white. I do know that circuses of the time did make some money on the back end by selling their esoteric manure to local farmers.
That's a really weird factoid that I wouldn't get from no one but you.
claiming that elephant feces would help their fields because it's such a majestic animal and stuff like that. So they could charge a premium for manure.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on that note, so you have a lot of knowledge about
Useless
circuses
knowledge. Useless
from
knowledge.
all the well, it's still knowledge.
Yes.
From all the books you've read and just you experiencing these things. Do you have any near final thoughts before we start wrapping up?
If you get a chance to go to a local circus, you should. Just to, not saying you'll be a fan, but I will say you will be entertained that night. Go to Circus World Museum in Baraboo. It's a wonderful resource, and when they have the circus running and back, it's incredible. They also have a lot of the carts or the circus wagons that were used in this movie are at the Circus World Museum facility.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
So you'll recognize one or two of them there. So it's really interesting to put all of that together and realize that, like we saw one of these actual tiny cars that they come out of. There's one building that has 4 or 5 of them lined up there, and it's like, wow, this is amazing.
Well, I know what I'm doing next summer.
Yeah. I recommend it. Give it a look. Let's see. I'm trying to remember different books you can read on this right now. There's Carnival from Arthur Lewis, but that's more about the carny. If I was better prepared, I'd have a bibliography for you, but I didn't think to prepare one.
It's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So normally on this show, in honor of The Simpsons, we have something called the Thrill House moment. So normally, if you're a fan of the film, it's the moment that kind of locks you in. I revise it a little bit when me or a guest aren't particularly fond of it, and revise it to, is there a scene that you particularly like? Because I like to end on a positive note.
Well, the train crash was majestic, and I could understand that. I would love to see that on a drive-in theater screen, just to get an idea of the scope of what that means. I did like I really love the documentary aspects of this movie, where it was, here's how we lay out the tent, here's how we lace everything together, and here's how we get everything put up. And that was really interesting to me. I also noticed that they had both machine stake drivers, which almost looked like a forklift that had pile drivers going down, and then they had the line of 6 men around with the sledgehammer, which I always
Their timing on that, those sledgehammer hits were perfect.
Well, I like, this is your job. Like, you've got to get this done because you've got 30 more stakes to drive.
Yeah.
And so that's fascinating to me.
No, and I'm right there with you in terms of, like, I appreciated the documentary esque footage. I appreciate it. I really love the train crash. But just to pick something different, there was a moment near the beginning of the film where James Stewart as Buttons and Betty Hutton as Holly, they were doing this just for the people around them, or doing this act on a trampoline.
Oh yes,
that I just thought was a lot of fun, and I just kept thinking, like the editor in my brain, it's like, and if we could just shave some of the stuff in this movie that doesn't work out, some of these scenes like that really nice moment between Holly and Buttons would really shine through so much better, because I thought that was such a fun little scene, and that's the movie that I quote unquote bought a ticket for and only got tiny little bits and pieces.
Sure. Also, we didn't mention this. Did you notice the cameos?
Like what?
Like, I swear at one time a very young Bob Hope was sitting out in the crowd watching the movie.
I did read that. Yes, that was a little cameo. And then Cecil B. DeMille cameos as the narrator.
Yes. There's one more celebrity, like I want to say like Danny Thomas or maybe Red Skelton.
Emmett Kelly is in it.
Well, Emmett Kelly is the clown.
Yeah.
The sad clown.
Yeah, it looks like Bob Hope and Bing Crosby were both in it.
Bing Crosby, that might have been it, yes.
And then a couple other...
I thought that was a little
character
surprising.
Actors. Yeah. I didn't notice them, but after the fact, when I was just looking things up about the movie, I found that factoid.
Yeah, they just showed up in just crowd shots. Like, boom. I was like, wait a minute, was that? Okay, I guess.
Bob Hope and Bing Crosby needed a payday. They
They
got
like
75 cents everyone else got.
They got $1.50, if anything.
Probably. All right, Derek. I feel like we're running out of steam a little bit on The Greatest Show on Earth. So what have you been up to?
Just like the movie.
What have you been up to? What do you want to promote? This is your chance to talk about whatever you got going on.
I do not have anything to plug because in 2 days, the wife and I leave for a week-long vacation to the Smoky Mountains. And we are headed down to Dollywood and Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge to look at all the tourist crap that belongs in the Dells but isn't there.
Honestly, that sounds like a great trip to me.
Looking forward to it.
This will probably be coming out close to the end of November, early December. So if you got anything going on then,
and then I believe Mondo is running in 2 months in January. So at the Cooperage, they're probably sold out. But check online to see if there are tickets available.
All right, and people listening to this show at this point, you guys should all know where to find me at this point. But I'm Michael_Viers on Instagram, Shameless Picture Show on Instagram. You can find my physical media reviews on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, pretty much anywhere. And I just pitched some new pieces to RogerEbert.com, so I'm hoping I can get a chance to write another piece for them. And yeah, that's kind of it. Appreciate you guys all listening as me and Derek talk at great length about circuses and The Greatest Show on Earth. And I'll see you next time. Shame time, shame place, Shameless Picture Show. And then an extra special thanks to fellow podcaster and friend of the show, Austin Proctor, who actually had edited this episode. So if you want to support Austin Proctor and everything he does, be sure to check out the Frightmares podcast. I am a occasional co-host on that show, but he does one of my favorite podcasts about the horror genre, and it should be one of your favorite podcasts too. So thanks a lot for Austin Proctor for editing this episode.
The Shameless Picture Show is recorded in Milwaukee, Wisconsin and Easton, Maryland, and is hosted and produced by Nick Richards and Michael Viers. Today's episode was edited by Michael Viers. Our opening theme music was written especially for us by The Directionals, with narration by Zach McClain. The end credit music you're enjoying at the moment was generously provided by my friends in the band 10 Speed. The Shameless graphic design is masterfully done by Amanda Viers. An extra special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters and to our generous sponsors. We are on Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, Google Play, and Libsyn. You can find links for all these amazing people in the description below.